Dead Rock Chapter 35 has officially released, and we have an amazing chapter with us today, because not only do we get somehow God Alfred's full-on origin, we get the creation myth of the Dead Rock universe, and allusions to perhaps Alfred has truly changed in the most bizarre way possible, while also setting us up for a full-blown time skip for Dead Rock as we figured from the end of last chapter. And even the true purpose of Dead Rock Academy. We're going to dive into all of that here today, but before we jump into things, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Really helps and it shows you guys enjoy the content I make here on the channel and shows you want to see more. Also, after this chapter, Chapter 35, Dead Rock is going to go on a massive hiatus until the winter of 2027 most likely. So January is when we're going to start getting Chapter 36 and onwards. So we're going to have a good 6 to 7 month dry spell of Dead Rock for the rest of the year. So I now have a good amount of time and more motivation to make some Dead Rock videos for you guys during the months that we are going to be off. There's going to be at least one extra Dead Rock video a month before we come back with new chapters. So look forward to that. Now, all that out of the way, let's get into the actual chapter. Chapter 35 of Dead Rock, titled God Fragment, and the cover image is of this bizarre stone with a strange symbol on it, which will become relevant in the chapter. And we'll begin in Dead Rock Academy in the Demon Realm, as a record begins to play as souls come out with some sort of bizarre and doom and gloom music, as Alfred, the god, comes out strutting and dancing like he owns the world, which he does technically do, as he goes through the curtains, revealing and opening the door to Lilith, one of the last remaining 4 demon teachers of Dead Rock Academy, notifying Alfred that there is a staff meeting for him that needs to be attended. But for all what we can tell, this might be the first time Lilith actually takes a look and steps inside God's chambers, as she notices this bizarre rock, which is the same rock we saw in the cover image, in a glass case in the middle of the room, as she asks Alfred what this is, as he mentions it's called a God Fragment. And surprisingly enough, Alfred is all too open with her right now as he says, "Oh yeah, I never told you about how I became God." With this information, it's obvious to say that Alfred was not God of this universe beforehand. He rose to this position somehow, and now we are about to get that origin. A long, long time ago, countless millennia most likely, in an era where there wasn't even any order in the world, as Alfred begins to narrate his origins. Back when he was a poor cow herder, and from what it appears, this is the human world. And even Lilith finds this incredibly hard to believe, but God just tells her to listen to his story. He says how much he loved cows as they were obedient and they gave everyone sustenance. But then one day a plague spread through the village, taking people out one after another, and when half the village had ended up dying, the remaining villagers with nowhere to rightly direct their anger turned on him, going towards him and his calf as they angrily point out how him and his calves are perfectly fine. None of them are sick, none of them have died. Maybe they are the origin of this disease. That might be it. And as is all too true with humans, whenever they lose people or there's some grave misfortunes like a plague, they try and find any reason possible to find someone or something to blame. And in this instance, Alfred and his cows, who were relatively healthy and were not affected by the plague, are easy targets, as they're in a mob mentality type rage, as even with Alfred trying to use actual logic to say how in the hell this would happen, and how they're jumping to conclusions, they don't listen, and so they all kill Alfred's cows in a senseless slaughter. Which, I mean, look, even in a blind rage, I get the whole idea of you lost all your herds, let's kill this kid's herd and stuff like that. But if your village has suffered from a plague and you lost a lot of the animals for sustenance, why just kill outright all of the damn cows? It's just really stupid with how some people can act. And look, this happens in real life too. People just act off of anger and don't think things through whatsoever. It's ridiculous. And unfortunately it's all too real. But Alfred got exiled from his village due to the plague and him being the only one that they could blame, so we ended up wandering around, as the plague that occurred in the world spread across the world to every town, and they were all closed up. And so Alfred kept walking, as years and years passed by, as we see him continuously grow older and older, to the point where he is an old man as he wanders into the desert. He collapses into the sand, awaiting his own death. But in a 2-page spread, we see a glimmering light in the desert close to where Alfred's old body is. When he notices the light, he grabs a hold of it, as it is the god fragment that we saw just a minute ago, as we get some lore for the world of Deadrock, saying that the desert country that he was in had a legend about the god fragment. The first god created the world and then scattered into multiple fragments, and those who possess a fragment end up becoming leaders guiding the world. And it seems that Alfred might have been the first true person to actually gain this fragment, as we then got a time skip to a pretty lavish empire from what we can tell, people bowing down to Alfred, as before he even knew it, they were all calling him the messenger of God to a flock of people in one singular nation. And he ended up preaching them like typical basic human nature in terms of basic human kindness, treating people with equality, don't quarrel, don't envy people, practice forgiveness, love people and cows, because he was a cow herder. But he then noticed that with more the people believed in him, the stronger he became. And then he aged down, he became younger, became what is now looking like the Alfred we know today, only in more, I would say, humble attire like he was shown previously. So this shows the origin of Alfred's belief-based powers. Because of this god fragment, he was gaining the powers of those that believed in him. He was growing stronger due to belief. And since he is connected to this god fragment, he obviously kept this pretty well protected in his own chambers, and nobody will be dumb enough to enter the chambers of God. The belief of others, demons and humans specifically, ended up giving him immense power. And it came to a point where Alfred ended up realizing that he was no longer just some sort of messenger of God. He became God. He was God in this universe. And this is where we get a massive bombshell, as Alfred in this instance decided to use his power to create a brand new world, to recreate everything. As he says to his followers, the plague-riddled world is no longer necessary. I will create a world free of plagues, and then I will create heaven and earth. As we see him raise his hands as he deconstructs everything, humans, people, the planet, everything, as we see the world disintegrate and then come back together, as we see raging oceans form with massive storms, volcanic eruptions creating land, and lavish forests with 2 humans, obviously referencing Adam and Eve from the Bible. As Alfred says that now it's time for humanity to try again. I took away illness, but I cannot change the human heart. Love one another and thrive, humanity. Don't forget to be grateful to cowherds. As he goes up towards this new kingdom that he brought into heaven, as he turned the desert kingdom, as that was the desert kingdom that he was ruling previously, and he made it into the heaven of this world, and continued watching over the human world as things kept progressing. But that was not the end. That's not the world we are in right now in Deadrock. For Alfred goes down to the world and he sees that humans kept fighting and killing each other one after another. The world he hoped for wasn't what came to be. And so, he created the demon world. And he then ended up changing all the humans that were on Earth at that world that he created into demons and sent them into the demon realm in order for him to create another new group of humans, and he reset the world once more. And this is a massive revelation for Deadrock, because the world we are in right now, the demons that we are following, their main original root was humanity. And yes, they're incredibly powerful ancient gods and stuff like that that they gained their roots from. They probably were from the original worlds that Alfred created or was a part of. Those myths and legends were used, and they ended up most likely creating the original progenitors of all these other demons for these different roots. That was probably the inspiration. And thus demons kept changing, growing, and as we saw now, they are the demons of this current world as humanity began anew in this brand new world. So we got massive lore implications for the three times, well, twice, that the world was reset by Alfred. And Lilith is wondering, why didn't he just recreate heaven and earth again? But Alfred just says, well, that just takes way too long. And obviously, Lilith is also very shocked that humans are the ultimate root demons. But Alfred, surprisingly calm, says, and not acting as boastful and arrogant as he was before, says, though that was an astoundingly long time, over time demons started to look even more human, which makes a lot of sense based off our main cast in particular. But then Lilith then asked a very important question, why did Alfred create Deadrock in the first place? As he chuckles and earnestly looks towards Lilith, saying, to give demons a chance to be human again. The demons that graduate Deadrock can go to the human world and become human. But Lilith is confused by this. And she's like, so why'd you turn it into a school where students kill each other then? Which shocks Alfred as he's like, wait, when did this happen? Since when? Which even Lilith is confused by what's going on, as Alfred seems to start having a breakdown, wondering, when did it turn into this sort of school? What happened to the ideals I had when I created all of this? As he shouts towards Lilith saying, I made a world without illness and watched over the human world. I created a place where demons had a chance to become human again. He's breaking down in utter despair and shock, wondering why. How did things turn out this way? I never sought any strife. I wanted a world filled with peace, love, and hope. As this is terrifying Lilith right now, seeing Alfred, their god, act this way. But then, a familiar thing happens. We see this strange, shivering white creature extend from the back of Alfred, as his personality shifts once more to the cruel, unrelenting, bloodthirsty god that the world has, that we have known from the beginning of the story. Saying, what am I saying? I'm God, I can do whatever the hell I want. I can kill anyone I want. All lives belong to me. Because I'm God. Deadrock is just a way for me to kill time. I make the best kids my servants, I give them the human world, and in return they make sure that faith in me is absolute. As he looks towards Lilith with a maniacal grin, as he composes himself once more saying, alright, sorry, staff meeting, right? As they walk towards the room to start staff meeting, with Lilith with a slight smile saying, so used to being a compassionate god, I wonder what happened, with a panel showcasing the shivering ghost thing that is popping out of his shoulder that potentially no one else can see. But Alfred asks what the topic is about, with Lilith saying, some of our students have been behaving badly in the human world, most likely referring to Class F, as they have been helping Yakuto liberate villages and stopping faith in Alfred. And so, Alfred says he's going to kill them all himself, as he begins to enact a plan that the very next day, they are going to begin a counterattack. But one day in the demon world is equivalent to a year in the human world, and in that time, Yakuto and the others managed to liberate towns all over the world, regaining faith in Alfred, the source of his power. As we then cut to Yakuto, solely standing towards the hole that is the original Deadrock, the prison of souls. As we then jump to a year later, as the day of battle arrived, officially ending the Academy arc of Deadrock. And that's chapter 35. We got the creation myth of the universe, because Alfred somehow was just some normal guy in the original Earth, found a god fragment in the middle of a desert, gained the powers of a deity, faith gave him the power to reshape reality as he wanted, and he did it twice. The origins of all the demons we have now were once human, and apparently he was a good person. He genuinely wanted the best for others. So much so that he remade the world twice, and made the people of the second world into demons to give them the chance to have a second chance. And the true purpose of Deadrock in the demon realm is so these demons can eventually become human again, with literally just the characters that we know right now basically being human, except for Hani being a literal golem, but that's besides the point. And that little ghostly thing that we saw twice already, not just in God Now, but we saw it in this one general back during the Dead or Alive challenge that was attached to this general that Ryzen knew in his past, and Setsuna's best friend that started going crazy. What is that ghostly figure thing that's seemingly making the all-powerful god of this world an evil, murderous sociopath? And what's the true end goal? I don't know. But now we're finally getting into the time skip. We're at the end of what's known as the Academy arc, so basically we're done with part 1 of Dead Rock based on how long this part's been for a monthly series. So now we're going to get into what's called the God Slaying arc potentially, so I am incredibly excited to see what happens next. I will say I was kind of really hoping to have had like some few chapters here and there before jumping a whole year of just seeing Class F having their own one-on-ones, to see them actually fight on their own without there needing to be actual team-ups. Specifically characters like Ryzen, Hani, and Zalisha, because they haven't really had too much stuff recently to just stand apart on their own. But either way, I'm excited for the future of Dead Rock. We're getting 6 to 7 months of pure radio silence until the manga comes back in the winter of 2027. So yeah, I'm really, I got a lot to think about on what kind of videos to make over that course of the time. So look forward to all of that. Let me know what you guys thought of this chapter down in the comment section down below. And I hope you all have an awesome day.